A classmate I barely talked to sent me a screenshot at 6:12 a.m. My parents' post was on her feed, smiling words about watching me walk, with a tag on my name. Under it, my professor had commented, "Congratulations, did I miss them in the stands?" I didn't reply. I just stared at the timestamp and the empty space beside my last name in the program. My phone was still dim from night mode, and the screenshot looked too bright for my bedroom. I pinched the image bigger. My mom had used one of my graduation pictures as the background, but she'd cropped out the empty seats behind me. The caption was confident. It sounded like she'd been holding my hand the whole time. Yesterday, she'd texted me at noon, "We'll be there." Dad had added a thumbs up. I'd left 2 seats on the aisle because Mom said she didn't like climbing over people. I wrote, "Mom, Dad," in the margin of the program so I wouldn't forget which ones. When my row stood, the chairs next to me stayed quiet. I kept my eyes forward. I didn't look twice. Now I did look. I opened the photo of the program on my desk, the one I'd taken before I went to sleep. My name sat in the same bold font as everyone else's. Under it, the list of honors. Next to it, my little pen mark, boxed in like a reminder. It wasn't dramatic. It was just there. On the screenshot, my professor's comment sat under my parents' post like a polite needle. No anger. No accusation. Just a question that had an answer. The likes count next to it was already higher than the likes on my mom's caption. I watched it climb by 1, then 2, like someone tapping a table to keep time. I didn't type anything. I didn't message my classmate back. I set the phone face down on my comforter and let the vibration rattle against the mattress. The sound was small, but it filled the room anyway. In the kitchen, I poured cereal into a bowl and stared at the milk, turning the edges soft. My diploma cover was propped against the wall near the sink, still in its plastic sleeve. The program was folded beside it, corners bent from being clutched too long. I smoothed it flat with my palm, then folded it again, tighter this time. The next buzz came with a different tone. When I flipped the phone over, it wasn't my classmate. It was the platform itself, a notice that I'd been tagged in a post. Under it was a button that said I could manage how I appeared on other people's pages. It felt strange that an app had a rule for this, like it had seen the same problem before. I tapped the post. My parents' friends were already piling on with congratulations. A neighbor from our old street wrote, "You two must be so proud." An aunt I only saw on holidays dropped 3 clapping emojis. Nobody asked me anything. They were talking around me, like I was a photo on the wall. I took one screenshot, then another, just in case the thread changed. I didn't send them anywhere. I saved them to the same folder where I kept my school emails and my loan statements. It was a habit, paperwork, even when it was on a screen. My phone rang. Mom's name lit up the display. I watched it until it stopped, then started again. When it went quiet, a text landed right after, bright and simple. "Repost our story, okay? People are commenting." That afternoon, my phone buzzed while I was balancing a cardboard tray of drinks at work. I didn't look until I set the tray down and washed my hands. The first message was from Mom. "Repost our story. People are asking." I read it twice, then slid the phone under the counter beside a stack of napkins. The screen kept lighting up anyway. When my break came, I sat on an upside-down milk crate in the storage room. The air smelled like syrup and wet paper. Mom had sent another text. "We can help you move this weekend, but you need to say something nice. Just do a quick repost." I stared at the words, "Say something nice," like it was a chore list. I typed, "I'm working," and sent it. That was all. A minute later, she called. I watched the call ring out once. Then I answered on the second ring because my manager was walking past. Mom didn't ask how my shift was. She went straight to it. "I saw the comments," she said. "People think we weren't there." I kept my voice flat. "I'm at work." "So it's not true," she said, like she just offered me a chance to fix something. "You're going to repost, right?" In the quiet between her words, I could hear a TV in the background at home. I could also hear her clicking nails on glass, the way she did when she was scrolling. "I have to be out of my dorm by Friday," I said. "I need boxes and a ride." "I can bring boxes," she replied fast. "We'll come Saturday. We'll help you load everything. But I need you to stop this before it turns into a thing." It's already a thing, I said, still not raising my voice. She ignored that. I wrote a caption for you, she said. Simple, grateful. We'll look like a family again. I didn't promise, I just said, okay. Saturday. Her tone warmed immediately, like a switch. Good, and don't post your own picture without tagging us, she added. That looks weird. My break timer on the wall blinked at me. I told her I had to go, and she ended the call first. 5 minutes later, Dad texted, no greeting, just a screenshot of a draft post, already formatted with my name and a row of clapping emojis. Caption: couldn't have done it without my parents. They were right there when I walked. Under the screenshot, he wrote, copy this, post by tonight. Then another notification popped up. Mom invited you to be a collaborator on a post. It was the same photo she'd used that morning. Same smiling caption. The app gave me 2 buttons, accept or decline. I tapped the notification once, then backed out. The button stayed there, waiting. My manager knocked on the storage room door and said, break's over. I slipped my phone into my apron pocket. It buzzed against my hip as I walked back to the register. Before I took the next order, another text from Mom came through. If you don't accept the collab, it makes us look guilty. I didn't answer. I just felt the phone vibrating, like it was trying to make the decision for me. When I got home, the house looked normal in the way it always did. Mail on the counter, a dish towel hanging crooked, the faint smell of whatever Mom had cooked earlier. My diploma cover sat in my bag like it was something fragile, even though it was just stiff paper and a seal. Mom's phone was on the kitchen island, face up, screen bright. Mine buzzed as soon as I stepped inside. Did you post? She asked without turning around. She was rinsing a plate that didn't look dirty. I worked, I said. That's not an answer, she replied, and finally looked at me. Her eyes flicked down to my phone like she could read the screen from there. People are still commenting. I didn't argue. I set my bag down, took out the folded program, and put it beside a stack of grocery coupons. The paper made a soft, dry sound on the counter. Mom's gaze followed it. Don't start with that, she said, like the program had spoken. I opened my phone and went back to the notification. The app's buttons were still there, accept or decline, waiting for me to approve being tied to their post. Under it, the tag request glowed like a small demand. I didn't hit decline. I didn't hit accept. I went into settings instead. It took 4 taps to find it. Privacy tags, review tags before they appear on your profile. A plain little switch. I slid it on. Nothing dramatic happened. No alarm, no message that said I'd done something wrong, just a line of text. Tags will be pending until you approve them. I backed out and returned to my profile. The post my mom had tagged me in wasn't there anymore. Not deleted, just not connected, like a door that still existed but no longer opened from this side. I set the phone down. Mom stared for a beat, then her own phone lit up. She picked it up, read something, and her mouth tightened. What did you do? She asked. It's a setting, I said, the same words I'd told her on the phone. Her tone sharpened, but she kept it low, like the house might hear her. Now it says you have to approve me. I shrugged. Not exaggerated. Just enough to show I wasn't moving fast for her. That's disrespectful, she said. I'm your mother. I reached for a glass, filled it with water, and drank while she watched. The coldness helped. It gave me a reason to pause. From the living room, Dad's voice carried over the TV. What's going on? Mom didn't answer him. She was still looking at her screen. People are going to think I'm lying, she said, almost to herself, then louder. Fix it. I didn't post anything, I replied. You removed the tag, she snapped. I turned on review, I said. That's all. Dad came into the kitchen with the remote in his hand like he'd brought it for authority. He looked between us. Why are you making this hard? He asked. I didn't say, because you weren't there. I didn't say, because I watched the empty seats the whole time. I didn't say any of the things that would turn it into a fight. Instead, I picked up the commencement program and smoothed the crease along the fold. My pen mark, Mom, Dad, sat in the margin, small and stubborn. Mom saw it and flinched like it had teeth. Put that away. I folded it and set it in the drawer with the takeout menus. Quiet, controlled, Paper on paper. My phone buzzed again. Another notification. Your tag is pending approval. I opened the post. The comment section had grown since morning. The professor's question was still there, polite and patient. Under it, someone else had written, "Did I miss you?" I was in section C. Mom leaned over my shoulder, close enough that I could smell her perfume and dish soap. "Just comment," she whispered, like the comment was a bandage. "Say, so grateful for my parents being there." That's it. Dad nodded once, firm. "Today," he added, "before it gets worse." I looked at the cursor blinking in the comment box, the little empty line waiting for me to fill it. The app didn't care what was true, it only cared what got posted. I tapped out one word, thanks, then erased it. Mom watched my thumb hover. "If you don't do it," she said, voice tight, "you're making us look guilty." I locked my phone and set it face down on the counter, next to the dish towel. Mom inhaled like she was about to say something louder, then forced the sound back down. "Fine," she said, the word clipped. "Then fix it in the comments." Today, by dinner, the group chat had woken up like a room full of people who'd been waiting for permission to speak. It was called Family, which always felt like a warning more than a title. The chat icon was a blurry photo from 3 Christmases ago, everyone smiling, everyone close enough to look like we agreed about things. Messages stacked in neat bubbles. Aunt Denise, "Congrats, baby." Uncle Ray, "Proud parents. You guys did it." Cousin Lila, "Post pics." Then my mom chimed in, right on cue. "We were there when she walked. Such a beautiful day." The word "there" sat on the screen like it had weight. My phone buzzed again. A separate text from Mom arrived outside the group chat, private, direct, more urgent. "Copy this into the comments. Don't add anything. Just paste. Thanks for watching." She sent a screenshot of a comment already typed out under her post. It was short, polished, and sounded nothing like me. "So grateful my parents were right there cheering me on. Love you both." I stared at the sentence until the words blurred. The only thing right there made me think of was the gap between 2 empty seats, the space that had felt bigger than the whole auditorium. In the living room, Dad was watching something loud enough to pretend the house wasn't tense. Mom was clinking dishes in the kitchen with the kind of energy that meant she wasn't actually cleaning, just making sure I could hear her. I didn't respond to her text. I opened the post instead. The comment thread was longer now. People were being nice, which somehow made it sharper. Neighbor, "Where were you sitting?" "We waved." A lady from church, "I was in section B. Didn't spot you, but maybe I missed you." Someone I didn't know. "Which row?" The stands were packed. And discreted. My professor's comment was still there, calm and clean. Congratulations, did I miss them in the stands? Nobody had answered it. Mom's friends kept adding hearts and claps. Each new reaction pushed the question lower, but it didn't disappear. It stayed. It waited. I scrolled slowly, like I was reading an article I didn't want to finish. My tag still showed as pending. The app's little reminder sat at the top, approve tag to show this post on your profile. Einid Lee's, and Welby Sagant mine. Below it, my mom had replied to someone with a vague smiley face and, "We were all over the place," which wasn't an answer to any question being asked. My phone buzzed again. Mom, still in the kitchen, sent another private message. "Just paste it. You don't have to mean it." That was the part that always surprised me, how easily words could be treated like props. I set the phone down on the coffee table and focused on something that didn't argue back. I folded a small pile of laundry I'd ignored all week, a t-shirt, a pair of socks, the same motions over and over, quiet edges lined up. The phone kept lighting up. The group chat was moving faster now. Aunt Denise, "Why isn't she tagged? I can't click her name." Cousin Leela, "Maybe she doesn't use FB like that." Uncle Ray, "Tell her to hop on. People want to congratulate." Mom responded in the group chat with a simple, "She's busy. Work." 85. Then, immediately, a private text to me. "See? Now I have to defend you. Comment, now." I looked at the laundry in my lap, neat stacks that didn't fix anything, just made it look handled. I thought about the script she wanted me to paste, the way it would seal the story shut. Not with truth, with performance. I picked up my phone and opened the comment box under her post. The cursor blinked. I could feel my heartbeat in my thumb. Mom stood in the doorway to the living room, watching me from the corner of her eye like she could sense the moment I might comply. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. The whole house was full of her expectation. I didn't type. Instead, I scrolled up and tapped my pending tag request again. The word pending sat there like a closed gate. No drama, just a rule. Then a new message came in, this one not from Mom, not from Dad, not from a cheering aunt. It was my cousin Mia, private. No emojis. I was there, she wrote. They weren't. I read Mia's message twice before I let myself breathe normally. I was there. They weren't. No emojis. No softening. Just a sentence that fit neatly into the space I'd been trying not to look at. I typed, "Are you sure?" Then deleted it. I typed, "Thank you," then deleted that too. Nothing felt right because nothing about it was supposed to be happening in a chat thread. So I sent the smallest thing I could stand behind. "What section were you in?" Mia replied almost immediately. "Section C, left side. I saw you line up. I waited after because I wanted to say hi. I didn't see them once." My stomach didn't drop. It didn't spike. It just went still, like my body had already decided this was true days ago, and my brain was late to the meeting. Across the room, Mom was still moving dishes like she was trying to scrub a thought out of the house. The group chat kept buzzing in soft bursts. I set my phone face down on the arm of the couch. It didn't help. The vibration kept tapping like a finger. When I finally turned it over, the public post had new comments. The polite questions were multiplying. Not rude, not angry, just specific. Then my Aunt Denise commented, "Which section were you in? I didn't see you after the ceremony." It was the kind of question you could ask with a smile and still corner someone. I could picture her typing it with her reading glasses on, thinking she was being helpful. I could also picture my mom seeing it and feeling the floor tilt. Mom's private text came in right after, as if the app itself delivered it straight into her hand. "Do not let this turn into gossip. Message them privately." Then another, "Tell your aunt you're busy. I'll handle it." I didn't answer. I opened the comment thread again. Mom had already replied under Denise's question with something light. "We were running around. So many people." Denise responded, "Oh, which row?" I was near the aisle. The lie was getting asked to be specific. My phone rang. Mom. I watched it, thumb resting on the screen, not ready to give her a voice in my ear. The ring stopped. A moment later, Dad texted, "Call your mother." Then, "This is embarrassing." Then, "Don't make us look bad." End quote. I stayed on the couch and stared at my folded laundry stack, like I could keep the world from shifting by keeping a corner straight. The TV was still on in the other room. Someone laughed on a sitcom. It sounded like it belonged to a different house. Mom didn't wait long before she came into the living room. She didn't sit. She stood beside the couch, phone in her hand, her screen reflecting in her eyes. "Your aunt is stirring things," she said quietly, like we were talking about someone else's family. "If you comment, it'll stop." "I'm not the one who posted," I said. Her jaw tightened. "So you're going to just let people think I'm lying?" I didn't say, "They're not thinking, they're asking." I didn't say, "You could answer the question if you were there." I just looked at her phone for half a second and then away. Mom lowered her voice even more. "Message Denise. Tell her we were in the back. Tell her she missed us, something." "I wasn't there with you," I said, steady. That sentence was factual. It wasn't loud, but it changed the air anyway. Dad appeared in the doorway, drawn in by the tone he didn't want to admit existed. "What's going on now?" he asked. Mom didn't look at him. "She's refusing to help," she said. Dad's face did that careful thing like he was choosing the version of himself he wanted to show. "You know how people are," he said. "They talk." I nodded once, like I understood the concept of people. "I know." Mom's phone buzzed again. She glanced down and her shoulders lifted, stiff. "Now your cousin Lila is asking why you're not tagged," she said. "This is spreading." Dad stepped closer. "Just do a repost," he said. "A quick one. It's not about you. It's about the family." I looked at the coffee table. My phone sat there. the pending tag still waiting like a door left ajar. Mom leaned in slightly, her voice turning sharp around the edges. "We're helping you move Saturday. We're doing that. But you're not going to come to church Sunday if you're going to humiliate us all week." I blinked. Slow. "You heard me," she said. "Post something by tonight, or don't come Sunday." I didn't go to church that Sunday. Not as a protest, not as a statement. I just didn't wake up early enough to turn myself into proof for someone else's story. On Saturday, they showed up to help me move like they said they would. Mom arrived with flattened boxes and a roll of tape. Dad backed the car into a spot that made loading easier. They didn't mention the post at first, like if they pretended we were normal long enough, the internet would forget. I let them carry what they offered to carry. The mini fridge, the lamp, the cheap dresser with one stubborn drawer. I said thank you when it made sense, because gratitude for effort wasn't the same thing as gratitude for a lie. Mom watched me the whole time. Whenever my phone lit up, her eyes moved like a reflex. "You still haven't fixed it," she said when we were alone in my hallway, both of us holding the same cardboard box from opposite sides. "I'm packing," I replied. "You're avoiding," she corrected. I didn't argue. I stepped around her and set the box down. The tape gun on the floor squeaked when I picked it up. In the car, Dad kept making small talk on purpose. Traffic, gas prices, a pothole near our old street. Every sentence was a way to not say what he actually wanted to say. When we got home, I carried my diploma cover inside and put it on the counter like it belonged there. Mom's phone buzzed before mine did. She checked it quickly, then tried to act like she hadn't. That night, after they left me alone in my room, I opened my camera roll and scrolled until I found the simplest photo from graduation. Me standing outside the building with my diploma folder tucked under my arm. No crowd. No parents. Just me in a cap that never sat straight. I clicked post. One picture. Caption. Graduated. No tags. No, couldn't have done it without. No emojis. No long story. Nothing that could be borrowed and reshaped. It felt almost too small, like dropping a pebble into a pond and expecting it to matter. Within minutes, it did. A friend from my major commented first, "Congrats." Another classmate, "You did it." My coworker, "Proud of you." Normal words. Normal tone. The kind of comments that didn't ask for seating charts. Then Mom's text came through, sharp and immediate. "Why would you post that without tagging us?" I stared at the message until the letters stopped feeling like language. I typed, "It's my post," then deleted it. I typed, "I didn't tag anyone," then deleted that too. Instead, I wrote, "It's just a picture." Mom replied, "It looks cold." Cold, like I'd put something in the freezer on purpose. A second later, people are going to assume things. I could have answered, "They already are. You invited them to," but I didn't. I set the phone down and opened my drawer. The commencement program was still in there with the takeout menus. I pulled it out and unfolded it carefully, smoothing the crease with 2 fingers. My name didn't change depending on who showed up. In the living room, Dad was on his phone, voice low. I could hear my mom whispering in the kitchen, the sound of someone trying to put out a fire with a towel. My phone buzzed again. "Mom, delete it and repost ours." "Mom, or add a second pic with us and tag us." "Mom, just do something normal." I looked at my neutral post again. The comments were still coming in. A professor I didn't expect wrote, "Congratulations, well earned." The thread stayed clean, simple, about me. That's what bothered them. Not that people were confused, that people were congratulating me without including them. I didn't delete anything. I didn't add a second photo. I went into my settings again, the same calm menu paths, and checked that mentions were still controlled. I wasn't taking anything from them. I was just keeping my name attached to my own words. A new comment appeared under my post. It was Aunt Denise. "So proud of you, sweetie. Your parents must be thrilled." I didn't answer her either. Not because I wanted to punish her. Because every reply was a chance for someone to steer. I closed the app and washed a mug in the sink, slow circles with a sponge. The water ran clear. The kitchen light buzzed faintly above me. When I dried the mug and set it back in the cabinet, my phone lit up with Mom's name again. This time, the message was shorter. They're talking. Then, after a pause long enough to feel deliberate, you need to clean it up. By Monday morning, my mom's post had stopped feeling like a celebration and started feeling like a room people kept walking into. I opened it before I even got out of bed, not because I wanted to, because my phone kept lighting up like it was calling me to witness something. The professor's comment was still there, calm, unchanged, sitting under my mom's caption like a bookmark nobody could move. Congratulations, did I miss them in the stands? Overnight, it had collected more reactions than anything else in the thread. Not angry ones, just the quiet little likes that meant people had noticed, agreed, and kept scrolling. Under it, someone new had asked, "Which section were you in?" Then another, "Row." Then, "We waved." My mom had replied to a few, but every answer sounded like fog. So many faces. Hard to keep track. We were moving around. The questions didn't stop. They got more specific, not louder like everyone was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt and accidentally tightening the net. In the family group chat, the tone shifted too. It wasn't the emojis anymore. It was logistics. Uncle Ray, why can't you just answer where you sat? Aunt Denise, people are being nosy. Cousin Lila, just tag her already. Mom posted a screenshot into the group chat, my pending tag request, circled in red like evidence that I was the problem. Mom, see? She won't approve it. That's why it looks weird. A few? Reactions popped up under her message. Then Dad added, she's being stubborn. I stared at the group chat and felt something in me settle. Not anger, just clarity. They weren't confused. They were building a version of events where my silence was the crime. Mom texted me privately right after. Your uncle is asking questions, fix this, comment something nice. I didn't answer. I sat up and folded my blanket with slow corners. A habit, a way to put edges on a morning that felt loose. When I opened the app again, my mom's post had been shared. Not by her, by someone else, one of her friends with a proud parent's caption of their own, like the story had grown legs. The share came with an added line. They were there cheering her on. The lie was multiplying because it was convenient. I scrolled and saw my own neutral post underneath in my feed, graduated. Quiet, clean, still about me. The contrast was almost embarrassing. Like one post was a trumpet and the other was a single note held steady. My phone buzzed, Mom calling. I let it ring. Then it rang again. When I finally answered, I didn't say hello the way she wanted me to. I just said, I'm getting ready. Her voice was tight but careful, like she was speaking through clenched teeth. Do you see what's happening? I see your post, I said. Don't be smart, she snapped, then pulled herself back down. People are asking where we sat. They're making it sound like we weren't there. I stared at the ceiling. They're asking questions. They're accusing, she corrected. They're being specific, I said, and kept my tone even. A pause. Then her voice shifted into something softer, which always meant she was about to trade. Just comment, she said. One sentence. I'll drop it. I swear. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I let the silence answer for me. Dad's voice came through on her side of the call, distant. Tell her to stop being selfish. Mom covered the phone and murmured back, then returned to me. This is humiliating, she said, quieter. We helped you move. We're trying. Why are you doing this? I could have listed everything. The empty seats. The text that said, we'll be there. The way they posted anyway. The way they tried to use my voice to seal it shut. Instead, I said, I'm not adding anything to your comments. Her breath hitched, like she'd been slapped, even though the words were plain. You're letting them talk about us, she said. I looked at the pending tag again. Still waiting. Still a simple rule. Approve or don't. I didn't touch it. When I ended the call, my hands didn't shake. What I felt wasn't panic. It was that strange quiet you get after you stop chasing someone else's moving target. A new notification popped up. Someone had replied directly to my professor's question. It was a name I recognized from family cookouts, an older relative, the kind who always hugged too tight and asked if I was still in school, even after I'd told them 3 times. They wrote publicly under my mom's post, I didn't see you after the ceremony. The older relative's comment sat under my mom's post like a dropped fork, small, ordinary, impossible to ignore. I didn't see you after the ceremony. It wasn't mean. It wasn't even aimed like a weapon. It was just there. A sentence anyone could read and quietly decide what it meant. My mom called again before I'd finished brushing my teeth. I answered because I didn't want her to leave 10 voicemails that would turn into a new kind of proof. "Tell me you see it," she said, voice tight. "I see it," I replied. "Then do something," she said. "Comment, repost, anything." I looked at the sink. The toothpaste foam circled the drain in slow white streaks. I watched it because it was easier than watching my phone. "I'm not adding anything to that," I said. Silence. Then her tone shifted, sharp around the edges. "So you're just going to let them say we weren't there?" "They're saying what they saw," I said, still calm. She exhaled hard through her nose. I could picture her standing in the kitchen with her phone in her hand, tapping, 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 like she could rearrange the internet by force of habit. "You're being cruel," she said. I didn't argue with the word. I didn't try to defend myself against it. I just repeated the only thing I'd actually promised myself. "I'm not adding anything." End quote. She hung up. A minute later, Dad texted, "You made your mother cry." Then, "People are screenshotting." Then, "Fix it." I didn't answer him either. I set my phone face down on the counter and poured coffee, watching the stream hit the mug and turn dark like it was absorbing light. When I checked the post again later, the caption had changed. The original line, "Watching her walk," was gone. In its place was something softer and more general, like a blanket thrown over a mess. "So proud of our graduate. What a milestone." No mention of the stands, no mention of being there. The story had been edited into something safer. Then the comments stopped moving. At the top of the thread, a gray line appeared. "Comments have been limited." I stared at it for a second. It was such a neat solution, a button that made the noise go away. But the questions were still visible above the line. My professor's comment, the seating questions, the older relatives' "I didn't see you," locked behind glass now, like a museum display. Mom had also removed the tag, not my pending tag, hers, like she was trying to cut the thread with scissors after the knot had already tightened. My phone buzzed with a private message from Mom. "I fixed it. Are you happy now?" I read it once and didn't reply. A new message came in from Mia almost immediately, like she'd been watching the same screen from somewhere else. "Too late," she wrote. "People saved it already." I stared at her words. Saved it. Not argued about it. Not fought about it. Saved it. Like it was a recipe. Like it was a receipt. I typed, "How do you know?" Then stopped. Mia sent a screenshot without me asking. It was the original post uncropped caption, my professor's question, the older relative's comment captured before the edits. Under it, Mia had added one line of her own in the message bubble. My friend showed me. She said your mom tried to change it. I set my phone down and looked at my neutral post again. Graduated. The comments under it were still normal. Still about me. Still not asking where anyone sat. The difference between the two threads felt like standing in two rooms with different air. One was clean and quiet. The other was warm with pressure, even after someone shut the door. That evening, the family group chat went silent for almost an hour, which was its own kind of noise. Then my Aunt Denise sent a message like she was putting a placemat over a stain. "Let's not do this online. We're family." Uncle Ray. Agreed. This needs to be handled in person. Even weird. Then Mom, "We'll have everyone over this week. Reset." The word reset made my stomach tighten, not because it sounded scary, because it sounded rehearsed. A new notification popped up right after. Event invite. Family dinner Thursday 6:30. Location. Our house. Under notes, Mom had added, "Come early. We need to talk first." I stared at the screen. The invite sat there with the same two buttons every app seemed to love, accept or decline. In the kitchen, the coffee mug I'd washed earlier was already back in the sink, a ring of brown drying around the inside. I rinsed it out slowly, watching the stain loosen and slide away. My phone buzzed one more time. "Mom, if anyone asks about graduation, let us talk." I tapped accept on the family dinner invite the way I'd accept a calendar reminder for a dentist appointment. No comment, no emoji, just a quiet green checkmark that told the app I understood where I was expected to be. After that, Mom didn't text as much. Instead, she called in short bursts, like she could get more control through my ear than my screen. "Thursday," she said when I answered. "Come early." "I saw the invite," I replied. "We need to talk before anyone gets here," she said. "This is not a big conversation. It's a reset." Her favorite word now. In the background, I heard a cabinet door close too hard, then a softer one right after, like she was trying to fix the sound she'd made. "I'm not bringing up the post," I said, because it was the only thing I could guarantee. "You don't have to bring anything up," she answered quickly. "Just don't make it weird." I didn't know what weird meant in a family that had spent 3 days arguing with strangers about seating charts. But I didn't ask. Asking questions was how you got assigned a role. Dad texted a few minutes later with a different kind of message, short, practical, like he was scheduling a repair. "Be here at 5:45. Wear something nice. And please just be sweet. Be sweet, like the truth was a flavor you could cover." On Wednesday night, Mom sent another invite update in the group chat. "Mom, dinner at 6:30. Let's keep it positive. No drama online." Aunt Denise reacted with a heart. Uncle Ray wrote, "Agreed." Then a private message from Mom landed right after, because she never trusted the public thread to do her real work. "If anyone says anything about graduation, we'll answer. Do not jump in." I stared at that sentence for a long time. It wasn't a request. It was a plan where I was a prop that could talk if it misbehaved. I didn't reply. I set my phone down and picked up the commencement program from my drawer. The paper had softened at the folds from being handled too many times. I ran my thumb along my name, then closed it and slid it back where it had been. I didn't need to carry it to dinner like a weapon. I just needed to remember it existed. On Thursday afternoon, I stopped at the grocery store on my way home. Not because I felt like proving I was grateful, but because arriving empty-handed would turn into its own conversation. I bought a small box of cookies from the bakery section, something neutral, something you could put on a plate and not talk about. I chose the kind with powdered sugar because they looked like winter, even though it was warm outside. In the parking lot, my phone buzzed again. "Mom." This time I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail turned into a text. "Call me." Then another. "I'm not mad. We just need to be on the same page. Same page. Like family was a document you could edit until it sounded right." When I pulled into the driveway at 5:43, the house already looked like it was preparing for witnesses. The porch light was on even though it wasn't dark. The blinds were angled just enough that someone could watch the street without seeming like they were. Inside, Mom had music playing too quietly to enjoy. It was the kind of background sound that existed to fill silence before it turned into something else. She met me in the kitchen the second I stepped in. Not with a hug, with a look. "Good," she said, taking in my outfit like it was part of her plan. "Put those cookies on a plate later. I have a braidering for dater." I set the box on the counter. Next to it, there was already a stack of paper plates, still wrapped in plastic, the same kind we used for birthdays and funerals. Disposable piece. Dad came in behind her with his phone in his hand. He didn't sit either. He leaned on the counter like we were in a meeting. "Okay," he said. "Here's what we're doing." Mom's mouth tightened, but she didn't stop him. "If anyone brings up graduation," Dad continued, "we say it was hectic. We say we got turned around. We say we were proud. And that's what matters." Mom nodded along. "Too fast." "We do not say anything about posts," she added. "We do not mention tags. We do not say stands or section or any of that." Dad looked at me like I was the unreliable part of the plan. "And you," he said, "you don't correct anything." I didn't argue. I didn't promise. I just picked up the plastic wrap around the paper plates and smoothed it down, keeping my hands busy so my face could stay calm. Mom stepped closer, lowering her voice. "If someone asks you directly," she said, "you smile and say, 'It was such a blur.'" I repeated it once in my head. It tasted like something that would crumble in your mouth. "Okay," I said, because okay wasn't a vow. It was a sound that kept the air from cracking. The doorbell rang early, 6:02. Mom flinched, then smiled like she'd been practicing. From the hallway, I heard Aunt Denise's voice float in with her laugh, loud and warm. And right behind it, in the kitchen where I was still standing by the paper plates, I heard the first question land, casual as a compliment. "So, where were you sitting at the graduation?" The question came from Aunt Denise like she'd asked it 100 times in 100 different ways. "So, where were you sitting at the graduation?" Mom's smile held for half a second too long. Dad's eyes flicked to her, then to me, then away like he was checking if the script was still in the room. "Oh, you know," Mom said, light and airy. It was a blur, so many people. Denise laughed, not suspicious, just curious. Right. But which section?" "I was in B." I kept looking. Dad stepped in fast. "We were moving around," he said. "Parking was a mess. Lines. Everything. It's stand." Denise nodded, still smiling, still friendly. "Mm-hmm. I get it. We waved after, but I didn't catch you." Mom's hand landed on my arm, a small squeeze soft on the outside, tight underneath. "Smile," it said. "Blur," it said. I smiled the way you smile at a cashier. Polite. Brief. Not attached to anything. In the doorway, Uncle Ray came in carrying a foil pan like a trophy. The kitchen filled with voices, the sound of people hanging coats and calling out greetings. The room got busy enough to hide inside. Mom's phone sat on the counter face down, but her fingers kept tapping it anyway, like she could feel notifications through the case. Dad kept adjusting the volume on the background music, then turning it down again, never satisfied. I set the cookies on a plate and dusted a little extra powdered sugar off the edges with my thumb. Something to do, something that didn't talk back. Denise wandered toward the counter to help. "These are cute," she said, then glanced at me again with a warm look. "I'm so proud of you." "Seriously, thank you," I said, and meant it. The thank you was simple. It stayed where it belonged. Mom used the moment to steer. "Dinner in a bit," she announced. "Too bright. Let's get everyone settled." She moved people like furniture coats here, drinks there, chairs pulled out, napkins placed. Every action made the room feel organized, like organization could be an apology. Dad leaned close to me while Mom turned to greet someone at the door. His voice was low enough that only I could hear. "Don't correct anything," he said again. Like repetition made it more real. "Just let it go." I nodded once. Not agreement. Just acknowledgement that I'd heard him. More relatives arrived. Cousin Lila swept in with her phone already in her hand, recording a quick story of the food, the cookies, the kitchen. "Say hi," she told me, pointing the camera like it was a favor. I lifted 2 fingers in a small wave and went back to stacking the paper plates. Lila moved on when she didn't get a bigger reaction. When the kitchen settled into its full volume, I noticed Mom had angled herself between me and the loudest cluster of relatives near the table. Dad stood near the doorway, laughing at the right times, his body turned outward like a shield. They were staging themselves. Even here. And still, the question kept drifting back in, the way a smell returns after you open a cabinet. Uncle Ray, pouring soda. "So where'd you guys sit?" We were up high. Aunt Denise, adjusting a serving spoon. "It was packed, right? What section were you in?" Each time, Mom answered with the same soft fog. All over, here and there. It was crazy. No one argued. No one called her out. But I started to hear the tiny pause afterward, the moment where a person waited for a detail and didn't get one. I watched it happen again when an older relative, Mrs. Halverson, someone who wasn't technically family but always showed up like she was stepped into the kitchen. She hugged Mom too tight, hugged Dad too tight, then looked at me with a proud tilt of her head. "There she is," she said. "Our graduate." Mom's smile widened, grateful for the safe topic. "Mrs." Halverson kept going, cheerful. "I saw that post. Beautiful. You must have been right near the front. What section were you in?" It was the same question again, just wrapped in a compliment. Dad cleared his throat. Mom laughed a small laugh. "Oh, it was such a blur," Mom said. Mrs. Halverson's eyes stayed kind, but they didn't move on. "Sure," she said. "But where, honey?" "I was in C." I didn't see you after. The room didn't go silent. Not fully. Plates still shifted. Ice clinked in glasses. Someone's bracelet tapped against a cup, but something thinned out, like a song dropping to one instrument. Mom's hand tightened on the edge of the counter. Dad's laugh didn't come this time. He looked down at his drink like it had suddenly become important. I stayed where I was, hands on the stack of paper plates, keeping them straight. Mrs. Halverson smiled politely and waited, still friendly, still expecting an ordinary answer. Mom's eyes flicked to Dad. Dad's eyes flicked to Mom. And the question hung there, bright and simple, with nowhere to land. Mom tried to save it with motion. She turned to the stove like something was burning, even though nothing was. She lifted a lid, stirred a pot, adjusted a spoon that didn't need adjusting. Her hands kept moving so her face wouldn't have to. Dad reached for the music again, then stopped himself. He set his phone down, picked it up, set it down again. He was trying to look casual while his shoulders stayed stiff. Mrs. Halverson still waited, smiling politely, like she'd asked where the bathroom was. "What section?" she repeated, softer this time, giving them an easy exit, just so I can picture it. Mom laughed too lightly. "Oh, goodness, it was packed." "That's what I mean," Mrs. Halverson said, still friendly. "Which section were you in?" This time, a few heads turned without meaning to. Not aggressively, just the natural pull of an unanswered question. Dad cleared his throat and said, "We were, up and down." Mrs. Halverson's smile didn't change, but her eyes narrowed just a fraction like she was focusing. "Up and down where?" Aunt Denise paused mid-sentence at the table, her fork hovering. Uncle Ray slowed his pouring. The kitchen kept making its normal sounds, but the rhythm got uneven. Mom's hand found my arm again. A small squeeze. "Smile," it said. "Blur," it said. I didn't step away. I didn't step in. I kept my hands on what I could control, the stack of paper plates by the counter. I peeled the plastic wrap off and set it aside. The plates slid against each other with a dry whisper. I lined them up, straightened them, made the edges even. Mom watched me do it, then looked away fast, like my calm was another kind of accusation. Someone in the dining room, Cousin Lila's boyfriend, I think, said, "Weren't there color-coded sections like A, B, C?" It was meant to help. It didn't. "Mrs. Halverson nodded. "Yes, that's what I'm asking." Dad's face did that careful thing again. He smiled without teeth. "It was so hectic," he said. "We just ended up wherever." Mrs. Halverson's smile stayed polite, but she didn't move on. "But you must remember the letter," she said, gentle and persistent. "I was in C, left side. If you were there, I probably saw you." Mom's laugh came out thin. "We were there," she said, sharper than she meant. The words snapped the room's attention into place. Uncle Ray shifted his weight. Aunt Denise glanced at Mom, then at me, then back at Mom like she was trying to find a safe bridge between them. Dad lifted his drink and took a sip he didn't need. And then, from the dining room, the question came again louder this time, because someone thought they were saving the conversation by making it normal. "Yeah, so which section were you in?" Eyes turned. Not angry eyes, not judging eyes, just curious ones. Mom's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Dad looked at her like, "Answer it." Mom looked at him like, "You answer it." I kept stacking plates. 1, 2, 3. My hands were steady, my face stayed calm. I didn't offer them words. I didn't offer them cover. The kitchen, for the first time all night, felt too bright. The question landed directly this time, with nowhere to float away. Aunt Denise wasn't trying to trap anyone. She sounded honestly confused, like she was rereading a sentence that didn't make sense. "Okay," she said, smiling but uncertain. "Which section were you in? Like A, B, or C?" Mom's smile held for a beat, then it slipped, just a little. Dad opened his mouth, then stopped. He glanced toward the hallway like he was searching for a different room to stand in. No one raised their voice. No one demanded proof. But the quiet that followed was heavier than any argument could have been. Plates clinked in the sink. Ice settled in a glass with a soft crackle. Someone's chair legs scraped the floor and then froze, like they realized the sound was too loud. Mom tried one more time. "We were," she started, and the sentence broke apart before it became anything. "We were around." Denise blinked. "Around where?" Dad's throat moved. He swallowed. He didn't speak. For a second, the whole house felt like it was waiting for a simple detail, one letter, one row, one place, something a person who'd been there could say without thinking. It didn't come. In the pause, Uncle Ray cleared his throat and did what people do when they want to protect the room from the truth. "Anyway," he said too fast, "who wants more potatoes?" Denise laughed, relieved, and grabbed the serving spoon like it was a lifeline. "Yes, please," she said, shifting the conversation the way you shift a tablecloth to cover a mark. Mom let out a breath that sounded like it had been trapped behind her teeth. Dad smiled again, quick and grateful, like the danger had passed. But the question didn't disappear. It just stopped being asked out loud. I picked up the stack of paper plates and straightened the edges one last time. Then I carried the extras to the cabinet and put them back on the top shelf, above the good dishes we never used. My hands moved calmly. My face stayed neutral. Behind me, the room filled itself with safer topics, work schedules, weather, who was bringing dessert next time. Nobody said section again. Nobody said stands. The lie didn't get shouted down. It didn't get exposed with a speech. It just lost oxygen in front of people who didn't know how to keep holding it up. I closed the cabinet gently and kept helping with dinner, like the quiet was enough.